Yep,
Got mighty quiet.
you're in timeout.
Somebody's going home with a note.
Do we have any special prayer requests? Councilmember Sigur, can you put on your, okay, actually, I'm gonna do Councilmember Impostata first, because he put it up, so.
I'd like us all to keep in mind the Marchese family. Mr. Marchese, who was the grandfather, godfather of St. Patrick's Day Parade in Metairie for eons, who passed away, I believe, either yesterday or the day before. Let's keep them in mind because he had an incredible impact on our community.
Councilmember Sigur.
Thank you. I would also like to keep in mind former Kenner police officer, former volunteer fireman of the city of Kenner, and president or commander of the VFW post, Sergeant Henry Polito, passed away. His son, Robert, is working for the Kenner Police at this time, is usually our court officer, and obviously he's not here for that reason tonight. So I certainly want to send our sincere sympathy to his family for the loss of his father. Thank you.
Councilwoman DeFranchise, please.
Thank you. I would ask your prayers for the Jeff Lopez family. His young daughter had open heart surgery. The surgery went well, but I would like your prayers for her continued recovery and a speedy recovery and complete recovery. Thank you.
Thank you. The Jefferson Historical Society donated a marker that we're going to dedicate next week, and the mayor and several of the council members were at the Founders Day banquet where that was announced, and they said a prayer attributed to Thomas Jefferson. So I'd like to open tonight with that prayer. It said that each day of the 8 years of his presidency and every day thereafter till his death, Thomas Jefferson allegedly recited this prayer. We can start in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Almighty God, who has given us the good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable ministry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties, and fashion into one united people the multitude brought hither out of many kindreds of tongues. Endow with thy spirit of wisdom those to whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In a time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in a day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail. All of which we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Councilmember Carroll, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. You have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of February 19th, 2015. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1862/15, Louisiana Blue Crab Run to hold a public gathering on April 18, 2015, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the purpose of a youth run, NOLA, at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1867/15, the Crescent City Cruisers Classic Car Club, Incorporated, to hold a public gathering on March 20th, April 17th, May 15th, June 19th, July 17th, August 21st, September 18th, October 16th of 2015, from 6:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a classic car cruise night at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3C is application number 1868/15, the Kenner Italian Heritage Incorporated, to hold a public gathering on March 27, 2015, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., March 28, 2015, from 12 p.m. noon to 10 p.m., and March 29, 2015, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the purpose of a festival in Rivertown in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3D is application number 1870/15, St. Jerome Church to hold a public gathering on April 3, 2015, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the purpose of a Good Friday outdoor Way of the Cross procession through various streets throughout Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3E is application number 1871/15, the Treasure Chest Casino to hold a public gathering on March 20th, 2015, April 3rd and 17th, 2015, from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for the purpose of having live entertainment and crawfish at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. That concludes the consent agenda this evening.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrances, second by Councilmember Conley. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for your consent agenda this evening. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,821, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision and a planned unit development for the East Jefferson Levy District Administrative Complex located in Kendale Park, Centanny, and Old Kenner subdivisions in Kenner, Louisiana, and to provide for related matters.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Conley to open a public hearing on summary ordinance 11-821. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing. Mr. Hebert, do you have a presentation for us, please?
Thank you, Council President. The property includes the areas that are identified by the red boundaries on the slide. The property is generally located between the ICG Railroad to the north and the Mississippi River levee to the south. The farthest portion of the eastern boundary extends to Butler Street, while the farthest portion of the western boundary extends to Decatur Street. The lots and apartments located in the boundaries are owned by the East Jefferson Levee District, the majority of which were previously classified as airport buyout property and purchased from the city of New Orleans. Portions of George Street, Hollanday Street, Centanny Lane, and Worth Street were purchased by the Levee District from the city of Kenner in 2013. The property is located in an area that has gone through a transition of land uses. The area contains industrial uses, neighborhood commercial uses, a multifamily development, and governmental uses. The area also includes the AP Clay Resource Center and the vacant Kenner High School building, as well as some sporadic undeveloped land. Now, closer to the subject property, Belgrove, Love and Charity, and St. Rosalie cemeteries are located along Decatur Street and Reverend Richard Wilson Drive to the west. Additionally, there are 5 single-family dwellings located adjacent to the subject, 4 of which are located along Warren Street, the 5th fronting Reverend Richard Wilson Drive. With the first request of the ordinance, the East Jefferson Levee District is proposing to re-subdivide the existing lots, arpents, and former rights-of-way that they own in order to create 3 parcels, EJLD1, EJLD2, and EJLD3, in order to accommodate its proposed new consolidated complex. Proposed parcel EJLD1 is rectangular shaped. It will consist of 49,188 square feet. It is bounded by the ICG Railroad to the north, Alton Street to the south, Warren Street to the east, and Decatur Street to the west. The parcel will contain one 15-foot wide drainage access servitude extending east-west along its northern boundary. Proposed parcel EJLD2 is irregularly shaped. It will consist of 409,321 square feet. It is generally bounded by the Canadian National Railroad to the north, Reverend Richard Wilson Drive to the south, Centanny Lane to the east, and Warren Street to the west. The parcel will contain 2 dedicated servitudes, a 60-foot wide utility servitude located in the former Worth Street right-of-way, and a 15-foot drainage access servitude extending east-west along its northern boundary. Proposed parcel EJLD3 will also be irregularly shaped. It will consist of 139,652 square feet. It will be generally bounded by Reverend Richard Wilson Drive to the north, the Mississippi River levee to the south, Butler Street to the east, and Worth Street to the west. The second request of the ordinance includes the new construction of the East Jefferson Levee District's Safe House and Consolidated Facility, which will be located on new parcels EJLD 1, 2, and 3. The development of parcel EJLD 1 will contain a 49,188 square foot storage yard for temporary materials during times of emergencies. The development of parcel EJLD 2 will consist of a 17,900 square foot maintenance building, a 7,900 square foot building for sandbagging, a vehicle fuel station, an equipment and car wash station, and a storage area for vehicles and equipment. The development of parcel EJLD 3 will include a 12,581 square foot administrative, police, and safe house building, along with associated police, employee, and visitor parking areas. The primary vehicular entrance point to the maintenance facility will be from Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, along with 2 emergency access points from Centennial Lane and 1 emergency access point from Warren Street. The primary vehicular entrance point to the administrative, police, and safe house building will be from Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, along with 2 secondary access points located on the west side of the development site from Worth Street. In accordance with the off-street parking regulations of the comprehensive zoning ordinance, a minimum of 33 parking spaces are required for the maintenance and sandbagging facility of parcel EJLD 2. 107 off-street parking spaces will be provided. In addition, a minimum of 42 off-street parking spaces are required for the maintenance, police, and safe house building on EJLD 3. 85 spaces will be provided. Each of the 2 development sites will provide dumpster corrals fully enclosed by compost shadow box fencing. In terms of landscape and buffering, all screening and buffering requirements have been met in accordance with the city's landscape ordinance. 85 Class A trees and 204 Class B trees will be planted within the development sites. The levee district will also receive 73 Class A credits for retaining the use of existing trees. In addition to the trees, 603 new shrubs will be planted at intervals along the adjacent public rights-of-way. The common property line that's located between the maintenance and sandbagging facility and the residences located along Warren Street will include a 10-foot wide green strip with landscaping and solid compost fence to serve as a buffer. A 6-foot high decorative fence with masonry piers will be placed along the property line of the maintenance and sandbagging facility fronting Reverend Richard Wilson Drive. The fence will be set back 20 feet off of the front property line with landscape material placed between the new 5-foot wide sidewalk extending along the front property line and the fence. An 8-foot high compost fence will be placed along the remaining portions of the east and west property lines, while a 7-foot high security fence will extend along the north side of the development site. New sidewalks will also be installed along Alton Street and a portion of Decatur and Warren Streets adjacent to the development site. A 6-foot high decorative fence will also be placed along the property line of the administrative, police, and safe house development on parcel EJLD 3, fronting Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, and along the east-west property lines. A second security fence will be placed along the rear property line facing the Mississippi River levee. A new sidewalk will be installed along parcel EJLD 3, fronting Reverend Richard Wilson Drive. 2 detached monument signs are proposed for each of the 2 facilities. Both signs will front along Reverend Richard Wilson Drive. Each sign will be made with cast stone material and measure approximately 66 square feet in size and 6 feet in height. The sandbag building located on parcel EJLD 2 will be 22.9 feet in height. It will consist of metal panels along with 2 rolling doors along the east and west sides of the building. The maintenance building will stand 45 feet in height, and it consists of brick veneer and metal panels. The building will include 6 rolling doors on both the east and west sides of the building. The administration, police, and safe house building will reach a maximum height of 43.5 feet. It will consist of dark brick veneer in the lower level and metal panels on the upper levels. The west side of the building will consist of an enclosure screen to cover mechanical equipment. Now, on October 17th of 2014, the Federal Aviation Administration concluded its aeronautical study of the buildings and determined that the height and the location of the buildings do not exceed obstruction standards and would not be a hazard to air navigation. Regarding utilities, there are 2 operating utility lines in the vicinity of the subject property. The levy district and the utility agencies will be coordinating throughout the construction project. The utility agencies have requested that all existing servitudes be retained in order to service those lines in operation, and that the cost to remove or relocate those facilities in relation to the development would be done at the requester's expense. The levy district has accepted those conditions as is indicated in the draft ordinance. Also, the East Jefferson Levy District in writing is indicated that there will be no storage or double handling of material, including sand and concrete, from the maintenance and sandbagging facility. During times of emergency, sand will only be brought to the facility in order to replenish unfilled sandbags, and concrete will be delivered directly to the project site, thus eliminating the need to store concrete material at the facility. Now, on Wednesday, January 28th, upon review of the application, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed ordinance. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Conley, to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Conley on the legislation. Council members, please vote.
Mr.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
We-
got ahead of myself.
Yeah. We'll have probably some discussion, but I also have an amendment. Would you like me to put the amendment on the floor first?
Yes,
And then we'll
please.
proceed to discussion?
Yes.
Okay, this evening I received a request to amend Section 6 to read as Centanni and Warren Streets may not be used by construction vehicles exceeding 5 tons, nor shall such vehicles utilize those streets for access to any portion of the facility once it becomes operational, except in case of emergency.
Motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember DeFrances on the amendment. Seeing no discussion, do you want to vote on the amendment? Okay, everybody please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 on your amendment. Now you're on the
Now
floor
we-
for approval, which is Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Conley.
And seeing no one wishing to speak? Oh, okay. Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank everyone for coming to the meeting today. Thank my colleagues, thank the East Jefferson Levy District, because this has been a journey for us for this particular project. You know, we like to first thank the East Jefferson Levy District for having the confidence choosing to come to the city of Kenner, specifically South Kenner, where I have lived my entire life, where a number of the people in the audience are here today who have lived much longer than myself, where the people who are here today and the people of the community have had to endure many changes in their lives. Growing up as small children, they had to deal with some things that was not easy for them growing up. During that time in their lives, before 1960, to be African American, to live in the community was not easy. But they endured. They endured to be able to give someone like myself the opportunities that I have today, and I am forever thankful for that. I have had the opportunity to follow many people on this council, Ms. Burton, Ms. Irving, Judge Johnson, to be able to represent the people. So I am privileged and honored to be able to sit here and to do the best that I can to represent the people who have lived and have given me so much. They have gone through their lives living there. They had to endure we had to endure the fact of the exodus from the sellout of all the properties of our family and friends that no longer are there, to see people that we do our whole life that are no longer part of the community, that we can no longer go next door and be able to be a part of the conversation. We have had to endure 20-plus years of vacancy, of nothing in the property, to be able to see nothing but space, which was another change. Now, this is a part of our chapter in our life where this is something new coming, something that we all are fortunate to have, all have always been a part of to support this. It has never been anything against the project itself, but it is something, a new chapter in our life that we embrace the entity that is coming in to be able to see what will bring the future for this area. We are all hopeful that it will be nothing but positive things that happen for the area, which is fine, and we look forward to that, and we embrace that. Like I said, it was never about the project. We always was upfront about the project. It was always never about what we didn't want. It was always about what we wanted and what we wanted to ensure that even through all the changes that we have had to endure, one thing that has always been consistent has been that our ability to fellowship, to have family relationships, not only for the living, but especially for our loved ones who are deceased. And that was the gist of it, not only for the African Americans, but we're also talking about the St. Rosalie Cemetery. We all have that family atmosphere in South Kenner, and this was about that, about our loved ones who are deceased, who we have lived our life to be able to go there, like myself, who have, many of us have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-grandparents. And it is important to us. It is something that we will fight diligently for, to ensure that not only those of us, the younger persons like myself and Judge Johnson, but for our children and grandchildren, will always ensure that they will have the comfort and the safety element to ensure that this will not disrupt their way of life. And I think where we are now, with the support from the community, with all that we've gone through, I think if anyone did not believe that in the beginning, they know that now. This is something that is important to us. So we look forward to this project, but we look forward to even more, because the project may come and may go. Who knows what's going to happen with it? But we know that our loved ones who are buried in the Belgrove and Love and Charity and St. Rosalie Cemetery, they're not going anywhere. These are cemeteries that when my life is no longer here on earth, this is where I will be buried along with my family and many of us in the audience. So this is what this was all about. And from this point forward, we will stay engaged with the East Jefferson Levee District. We will stay engaged with the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East to ensure that never, ever are the concerns, the things of the people from South Kenner are forgotten or not even encouraged, to ensure that the area that we hold so dearly, there's never any chance of it ever being disrupted. And I think we are at a good place there today. The project will go on. We will be able to continue to see our loved ones without any type of safety concerns. And we embrace this, and we love the fact that we still are maintaining the wholesome family relationships that we have. So for everyone from the community, not only from South Kenner, but from all over that supported this project, for the people who supported bringing the project to South Kenner, we thank them. And we understand that there are some more things to be done with this, and we will be there in the front to ensure that forever this area will always be represented and loved by us, what we call South Kenner. Thank you very much. I love you. Thanks for coming out tonight, and we look forward to going in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Seeing no other discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,822, an ordinance approving and accepting a servitude by the heirs of William Mason Smith to the city of Kenner across a portion of the West Napoleon Avenue, Canal Number 4, right-of-way, Highway Park subdivision for installation and maintenance of sewage facilities for the 10th and Maria Street Lift Station and Force Main Sewer Improvement Project.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember Impastato. Councilmember Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll ask Mr. Gonzalez if he could, or Mr. Powell, whichever, to explain what the need for this right-of-way is.
Yeah, because then you could...
This is not a straight right-of-way, it's a servitude that we are acquiring in order for us to be able to install a sewer force main that is connect the 10th and Maria lift station with the 24th and Delaware lift station to improve capacity of a sewer system in that area.
Okay. And I noticed there's some others coming up, so this is all just part of that same servitude?
Correct, the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other, Councilwoman DeFranco, no. Seeing no other discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 11,823, an ordinance approving and accepting a servitude by Bell South Telecommunications, LLC, doing business as AT&T Louisiana, to the city of Kenner on a portion of Plot A, Square 159, Kenner Heights subdivision for installation and maintenance of sewage facilities for the 10th and Maria Street Lift Station and Force Main Sewer Improvement Project.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember Klein. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12C is summary ordinance number 11,825. An ordinance establishing a policy and criteria for the construction and maintenance of subdivision and/or neighborhood entrance signs and structures. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request for a one-meeting deferral, please.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Klein, second by Councilmember Impastato for one meeting deferral. Please vote.
One more? One more vote? Council. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 on a one-meeting deferral. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 416 27th Street in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrances. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 543 and 545 Salvador Road, Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Conley. Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
No,
Oh,
not now.
No,
We got two
okay.
more meetings to go.
council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution appointing Michael Senack to the City of Kenner Planning and Zoning Commission to fulfill the unexpired term of Wilbur P. Mickey Jeruso.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember Reyno, and
On that item.
okay, we're gonna
Right now?
give the floor first to Councilmember Segura. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As you may recall, a couple meetings ago, we issued a city proclamation to Mr. Giarrusso on the retirement of his service to the Planning and Zoning Board after about 20, almost 25 years of his service. So that opened up a opening of that board under the District 2 appointment. And after searching for a replacement, Mr. Senak's willingness to want to serve came forward. The fact that he's a civil engineer will certainly lead to a lot of experience and knowledge as he would be able to share with other members of the board. So with that, I'm asking the members of the council to please join me in voting to appoint Mr. Senak to the board. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Morello.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 43 years. I want to comment on this item. It's rather disturbing to me how this whole thing unfolded. Now, anyone up there can correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Giarrusso fell and broke his hip. He suffered a broken hip. He was taken to the hospital. Complications set in. He was taken to the hospital again. On the December 4th agenda, there was an item talking about figuring out a way to try to remove Mr. Giarrusso from this board. It was deferred to December the 18th. Came up again, December the 18th. It was indefinitely, it was removed because by that time, Mr. Giarrusso had resigned. So now, and then after this, he gets a proclamation down here, which I thought was all well and good. But 2 times, 2 agendas, trying to figure out a way to remove the man. To me, he may have resigned under duress. Now, if this man felt that he could not perform the duties anymore, it should have been up to him to resign all on his own. Just a matter of fact of having the item on 2 agendas twice in the month of December leads me to believe that there was something going on behind the scenes where he may have resigned under duress. This is quite disturbing to me. Now, and then you issue him a proclamation. Anyway, I got a question for you, Mike Segura. Is it a requirement?
Al, you got a minute and a half. So
That's okay, that's fine, thank you. Is it a requirement? And if so, does Mr. Senak live in the district? Is it a requirement? And if it is a requirement, does he reside in the district?
When you done, if Mr. Segura would
Well,
like
okay,
to
that's my
answer
question,
that.
that's fine. Any way you want to do is fine with me, Keith, no problem. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you. Bear with me 1 second here. Council members, can you, because you're going to close, can you take your cue off, and I'm going to let Council Member Impostata, you have it. You have the mic. I'm going to give it, now put your cue back on.
Well, just to answer one of the questions, I can speak firsthand. Mr. Senak lives in District 5, and so, which I don't believe is an issue at all, and has nothing to do with whether he should or should not be appointed to the board, so I have no problem with that, with him being appointed to the board. I would just like to know if there has been any actual factual information to suggest that Mr. Giarrusso resigned under duress, because my impression when he received the proclamation and all 100-plus relatives that he had in the room, not a single one of those people gave any indication whatsoever that there was any sort of duress whatsoever associated with his resignation. In fact, he seemed very pleased, and as I recall vividly, he stood in front of those steps over there and said, "I'm sorry that I just wasn't able to serve any longer, but I'm just not feeling up to it." That's the words I heard out of his mouth. So if someone has any actual facts to suggest something to the contrary, I would want to hear them for sure, and I'm sure all 7 of us up here would want to hear those as well. But in the absence of that, we can only go on what we know, which appeared to be a very satisfactory. Unfortunately, his health conditions were what they are, And so I have no reason to believe that that happened. Thank you.
Mike, can you take your, can you take your cue off again? Because Councilmember Carroll wanted that, and then let me, so that way you get the end.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I have no knowledge of any duress. There was never any conversation or that I had with anyone as it related to that. But I am concerned about Mr. Morella's question about is it, and maybe Mr. Hebert or someone can answer it, is it a requirement that you live within the district that you represent on the committee?
No, sir, it's not. Planning commissions are creatures of the state, and our planning commission, which was established by a local ordinance, does not indicate that that the representative has to live within that district of that council person. Oftentimes, as the case, it's very difficult to find qualified candidates that live in a little section, and so I think for that reason, it's not. It's citywide, and I know Mr. Senac as well. And he is more than qualified, and he's expressed in the past his interest in serving voluntarily without compensation on a board, and I think this would suit him just right.
So, Mr. Morella, does that satisfy your question? And I could understand why Mr. Morella or other people within District 2 would have a question about is the person from their district who, in their mindset, may believe has a better insight on the actual activities and what's going on in their district. You know, I'm proud to say that the people, my representatives, do live in District 1. So, you know, even if that was an issue, it wouldn't affect the people in District 1. It's not. There's no question about the gentleman's qualifications. And if the council person believe and the community believe that this is the person that should represent them, then I can support that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Segura, would you like to close?
Yes, sir, thank you. First, I'll address Mr. Morell's comments on the fact of the matter being on 2 council agendas for removal. It wasn't on the agenda specifically for removal. We're bound, as Mr. Hebert just said, to follow state law. State law says if there's any question on the servability of a person on the board, you must hold a public hearing and seek out those questions and answers, and then make a decision on whether to remove. I do have an issue with that state law, and we are going to seek some perhaps remedy through our state legislators with that, hopefully in the future, because it is a little perhaps distasteful to have to call a person before the council at a public hearing just to ask questions that we may not have been able to receive directly. So the resolution for the public hearing was just what is required by state law to get to the point to ask questions. It doesn't mean that there was a removal gonna happen, but it just meant that that was the means for me and the council to ask questions. So we put that on the agenda, and then certainly, as you commented, Mr. Giarruso's health deteriorated even further, which I immediately deferred those discussions or the public hearing so that there would not be a question of him not being able to attend the public hearing because of his hospitalization and not be afforded his opportunity to explain himself. As Councilman Impastato said, and which is definitely actually the fact, his health was deteriorating, and he was not in a position to express that to us or give direction, but he did recover enough and then recognize that his deteriorating health was the cause of his not appearing at meetings. So he did issue his, and I'll use the term resignation, but it was a retirement as we presented in the proclamation. He had 25 years service to this city. So I'm not sure to call it a resignation. It was a retirement. That's a career working, serving the city at no cost. So that led to the search for the replacement. And again, as your other question with Mr. Abear answer to Councilman Carroll is that, again, state law only states that the person shall live in the city of Kenner, does not have any reference to the fact that they must live in the district that they're being appointed to. The fact that it's nice to have someone from your district, I agree, is probably nicer. You go with who expresses an interest to serve, and so as to not perhaps linger too many more months of not having any representation by District 2 on this board, as Mr. Senak's name became available to me and I had an interview with him, I was pleased to learn that he was actually pretty much born and raised in District 2. He went to school. Him and I both went to St. Lawrence together, different grades, didn't know each other at the time. So he does have his idea, his pulse on the district from the fact that his family lived in this district for many, many years. The fact that I presume that by the time he went off to college, which he, I understand, got his degree from Tulane, and moved into a different neighborhood, Councilman Impostata's district, should not be held against him. He does still live in the city, and he is knowledgeable of my district. So again, I'll ask the,
Is he here?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Senak's here.
Yes, and Mr. Senak is here,
Would you mind coming up? Welcome to public service.
Thank you. I made an inquiry several years ago when I was living in Ms. DeFrench's district, but I thought also you had to live in the district, and they had a man from Chateau Estates who was on there 20 years. I said, well, I guess I'm gonna have to wait. We'll have to wait. And then I found out, oh, you don't have to live in the district. Oh, okay. Well, let me put my name back in the hat, and that's when Mr. Segura interviewed me. So I'm glad to. Been having it on my heart to serve.
Thank you.
So.
Madam Clerk, do you need his address, or you want him? Yes. If you could just do your name and address.
Name is Michael Senak, C-E-N-A-C. The address is 76 Sequoia Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other discussions, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,824, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Signal Equipment Company South for the purchase of traffic signal parts as needed in accordance with sealed bid number 15-6254 and an amount not to exceed $75,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Reno, second by Councilmember Conley. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of surveillance cameras and recording equipment from BITS Technical LLC, utilizing state contract number 408849 in the amount of $32,775 for the Public Works Yard located at 1905 24th Street. Item 16B is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one Smithco Superstar infield finisher from Bob Ladd and Associates, doing business as Ladd's, in the amount of $17,058.09, utilizing the State of Louisiana contract number 409260 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance approving an amendment to the agreement with the 3Cs Properties Incorporated regarding the supplying of red mud on an as-needed basis, which increases the maximum agreement amount to $14,500 annually for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Councilmember Conley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Sometime last year, we were honored to have the Vietnam Memorial Wall come come and visit the city through the efforts of our administration. And it was a very moving time and a very moving experience. And there's a foundation now which is trying to raise money to put a marker to commemorate that historical event in our own park behind City Hall, the Vietnam Veterans Foundation. As a matter of fact, I see two of the officers here. Ms. Albert, if you can come up and speak to us and give us an idea how the foundation's going, and certainly what this council can do to help, I would appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Name
My
and
name is Debbie Albert. I live at 5304 Craig Avenue, and I'm in District 3. First of all, I would like to inform you on what the actual foundation is. It's the Vietnam Veterans Foundation of Kenner. And our mission statement is the Vietnam Veterans Foundation of Kenner is a volunteer, private sector, nonprofit 501c3 corporation formed in 2014 to provide funding for a memorial plaque commemorating the Vietnam Moving Wall, which visited Veterans Park, right behind us in Kenner, and to further beautify Veterans Park. Our focus strategies, our community action is to develop specific goals and fundraising partnership opportunities to fund them, dialogue with council, business leaders, and other organizations in our community. Public awareness, increase awareness through publicity and dialogue with council, business leaders, and other organizations. Attend organization meetings, luncheons to promote the Vietnam Veterans Foundation of Kenner. Fundraising. Develop a plan as the opportunity arises to partner with council, business leaders, and other organizations in our community. So in conclusion, this volunteer organization is governed by a board of community-minded citizens who serve in a non-compensatory capacity. Our vision is to help beautify, upgrade Veterans Park in Kenner, Louisiana. So, I want to tell you a little bit about myself before I get into why I'm really here. My name is Debbie Albert. I live in Palm Vista subdivision. My entire life has been, I've lived in Kenner for approximately 29 years. I've been in banking all my life, and I was a banking consultant for Wells Fargo Bank, and I traveled the country every time Wells Fargo would buy a bank to help convert the bank in their treasury management products. I was doing that, and something happened in September of 2005, which we all know is Miss Katrina. So at that point, I had to come home. I was out all week, every week, Alaska, San Diego, worked in Minneapolis, worked in Denver. So I was, I had to quit my job and retire and become a contractor because due to the leadership at that time, I was blessed with water in my house. So, and my husband owned an engineering firm, which also was affected by it. So while he had to move his company to Houston and relocate 250 of his employees, I was home being a contractor. And I said, well, why did God do this, okay? I said, well, I worked all my life. I said, so maybe it's just because I need to get more involved in the community. So that is exactly what I started doing. I'm treasurer of Cancer Crusaders, which is another 501(c)(3) corporation. We raise funds, give it all to LSU Tulane for cancer research. I'm on the board of Jefferson Beautification. I'm also a volunteer at Children's Hospital. I'm in the Republican Women's Organization, and I'm also president of Palm Vista Garden Club, which Mr. Reno and I are on text basis. We understand each other on that. I also thought that I might want to get into politics, so I put my name in the hat to join PEC. And of course, I had so many known individuals in the district that I was running, Ms. Impastato, and a few others. 5 were elected, but I did come in 6. So I said, well, instead of helping the community like that, I'm just going to give my time. Hey, Mr. Quigley. Okay. So what happened is back in last year, I met Mr. Ortadella, not last year, but when I ran on that PEC ticket, that's how I met Mr. Ortadella. And I am Secretary-Treasurer of this Vietnam Veterans Foundation, and Mr. Ortadella is president. So, and as we all know, Mr. Ortadella was very instrumental in getting the moving wall to come to Kenner. So at that point, I said, I'd like to get involved in it. So we met with Mr. Quigley and Ms. Donahan and his group, and I said I would like to get involved. And so I said I would like to help with the volunteers. So on that Sunday, May 18th, because it was during May 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2014 when the wall came, Mr. Tadella and myself met with all of the Republican women groups in our area. We have 10 Republican women groups, and we got approximately 50 to 60 volunteers for that day. So when the wall was here, I was here every day. Sunday, I was here from 7 for the morning service till 7 that night. So at least 11 hours. So it really touched my heart. The wonderful job that Donna did. It was just so moving, and it brought closure to a lot of people. And working the desks, seeing the people come in and want to see their names of their father, et cetera, it was just emotional. And in my heart, my dad, who's 95 years old, is also a World War II veteran. He served in the European theater. And he was part of the 1st Special Forces, and he was awarded the Bronze Star. So I have a deep desire for the veterans and the Vietnam veterans. So Mr. Tadella and I met with the mayor, and we said how impressed we were that we would like to form a nonprofit organization and get a memorial plaque or sign or whatever you want to call it to come so that we can commemorate the fact that the wall was here. And the mayor has been phenomenal. He's anytime we wanted to see him, he said yes. So what we ended up doing was we came up, Mr. Tadella designed a sign. It's 33 inches high by 43 inches wide. And it's got the Kenner seal on it. If you can imagine a Blue Star sign, the Blue Star sign right there by the plane when you walk in, Blue Star Memorial. But it has the City of Kenner, Vietnam Moving Wall, May 15th to 19th, 2014, and it has a replica of the wall on it, dedicated to the men and women during the Vietnam War, 1959 to 75. And it has the 5 seals of the armed forces: Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, and Air Force. On the back of the sign, it's got the service ribbon medal and the campaign medal, and of course, again, the Kenner seal. And it says, "Honor, Duty, Country, Casualties from Kenner." And it lists the 7 casualties from Kenner: Lieutenant Joseph Koppler, SPC Carver English Jr., he was Army. Koppler was U.S. Marine Corps. SPC-4 Ronnie Pounds, Army. PFC Douglas Heath, Army. First Lieutenant John Carr, Army. And Sergeant Joe Cooper, Army. So with the help of the mayor and his staff, we sent out letters right after the wall came, asking for donations. Well, we received approximately $1,200 in donations. The sign is $3,200. So we went back to the mayor, and Donna Hahn sent out another 200 letters for donations, different people. We got $300. So you say, Debbie, what did you do? Well, what I did was I formed the corporation. I came out of my pocket $700 to form the corporation, Secretary of State, 5013C. So I really wish I could have taken that $700 and put it on the sign. So that's what I did. Now, why am I standing in front of you guys? Well, I'm here to ask you for some money. There's 7 men on the back of that sign, and there's 7 councilmen. So I'm not going to ask you for a lot of money, but I'm going to ask you for $200 each. And I would like to vote on this. Could you vote on this? And so that's what I'm here for. We need the money to pay for the sign. And with that, that still won't get us the full amount, but we feel that we can find the rest of it elsewhere. If you can give more than 200, we would really appreciate it. Councilman Conley has already donated money. So I'm begging you. I see a wink from my friend, Mr. Councilman Impostata. I'm begging you, please, can you give us each $200? Can each of you put up $200 to help us pay for the sign? Because the sign is in, it's here, and we want to get it dedicated for Memorial Day in May, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mr. Mayor? So,
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you for all that y'all do. And I can tell you that I'll write the check. You can call me tomorrow, and I'll give you a check for my 200, and I'm sure that you're going to get checks from the other council members as well.
thank you very much, and I will come by and pick them up. I'll call each one of you, is that okay?
I have no doubt that you're going to do that.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry to take up so much time. Thank you so much, Councilman Conley, for letting me talk and putting me on so I can have more than 3 minutes. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Mr. Quigley, Donna, you know you're good, girl. Okay, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Man, don't blame me.
Councilmember Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you. A couple items. First, I'd like to comment on an event that Council President Reyno, Councilman Large DeFrances, and myself attended last Saturday, hosted by Chief Glazer and the Kenner Police Department, was a school active shooter training exercise. This exercise was put on by the Kenner Police, hosted by them, but it included other agencies, JPSO, St. Charles Sheriff's Office, State Police, Harahan Police, Jefferson Parish School System, East Jefferson Ambulance, and I'm probably sure I missed 1 or 2 others, but we do thank their participation. The event was, I'm sure, quite eye-opening for the other council members that were there. From the comments I heard, that they were quite impressed with the training exercise. As a police officer, you know, we see these things, and we fortunately have never had an active shooter situation in our city, and we hope to never do, but it is certainly imperative, as Chief Glazer recognized, to put on a training exercise so his department, as well as surrounding agencies who would be called upon to help, were also familiar with it and work together on bringing it to a hopefully quick ending. I know some of the comments I got from other council members was a little bit of an eye-awakening to see the lack of equipment that perhaps our Kenner Police Department should have to handle perhaps a situation like this. So I'm sure we'll look forward to working on finding ways to provide the chief with some hopeful funds to obtain that equipment. So want to again thank the chief for hosting that event and inviting us to come to be part and witness it. It was quite an experience. Secondly, I'd like to comment on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce just recently issued a notice of the winner of its annual Blue Ribbon Small Business Award. It's a program that recognizes 100 companies across the country for their success and innovation, for their contributions to economic growth and free enterprise. The award was given to a company, Strategic Planning Associates, which was selected from all of these numerous companies around the nation, and is only one of 2 companies in Louisiana that received this designation. Strategic Planning and Associates is owned by Ms. Charlotte Burnell, who is the former CAO for the city of Kenner. So I would like to believe that her time here has given her some insight on the needs of the business community, business entities in our community, and that has allowed her to form her company and for many years now and provide professional help to businesses trying to start and grow in this community. And I know a lot of companies in Kenner are benefiting from that. We recently had a major company move to my district, a computer company that she was helpful in moving over here, and it's a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And so I know her work is very beneficial to the community, and I do want to thank her for that work, but also now congratulate her on this award by being named a Blue Ribbon Small Business Award. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Impostata, you have the floor. Wait, now you do.
Yes, I just wanted to make a report, particularly for anyone in District 5 who's either watching or in the audience. We received a couple of calls concerning the West Loyola Bridge that connects West Loyola to Joe Yenny Drive. And following those calls, those reports were immediately forwarded to Mr. Jose Gonzalez, the Director of Public Works, who almost instantly, I would say, attempted to address the issue and went and inspected the bridge at West Loyola, and also had made a report to Jefferson Parish Department of Engineering to just take a look at the bridges at East Loyola and West Loyola to ensure what we suspected, which is that the bridges were structurally sound and everything was in working order. But he addressed that immediately at our request, and I'm very grateful that he did, because what we determined and confirmed is that these bridges are inspected annually through DOTD and Jefferson Parish jointly, and they're both determined that even as of this additional inspection, they're both structurally sound, are in no danger of showing structural failure whatsoever. There is some soil that on the West Loyola side appears to, possibly have washed away slightly over a number of years, that the parish is going to work with our Public Works Department to replace, but it's not creating any sort of a structural danger, certainly not at this point in time at all. On the East Loyola side, they did take a look and see there is some striping and some guardrail improvements that can be made, so they're going to work towards a solution to that. But I'm very pleased, and I appreciate Public Works and Mr. Gonzalez's work in that regard. Mr. Gonzalez, do you have anything you'd wish to add on that report?
Councilman, I think you covered the whole subject really well. As you said, as part of our DOTD program, all bridges throughout Jefferson Parish, including the municipality bridges, are inspected on a yearly basis. On odd number years, the state DOTD personnel inspects those bridges, and on even number years, the Jefferson Parish Department of Engineering inspects those bridges. When you brought to my attention that we had received some complaints on the West Loyola Bridge, I immediately contacted Jefferson Parish Engineering Department, and they sent someone out there. And while they were out there, they detected that there was a cavity under both of the approach slabs, and they immediately informed me of those cavities, even though the cavities are not a serious problem from the point of view that the bridge will collapse because the approach slabs are structural slabs. It's something that we need to correct, okay? And while they were out there on the West Loyola Drive, they decided to go ahead and inspect the East Loyola Drive. And they found pretty much the same, both approach slabs, you know, even though they're structurally sound, they detected some cavities that should be addressed. And we're working with the Jefferson Parish Drainage Department to address those voids. We're probably gonna have to drive some vinyl sheeting out there and pump some either clay or sand once we drive the vinyl sheeting. Now, while we're out there, we also want to do some guardrail improvements by both bridges on both approaches. But before we have to address the cavity, in the meantime, we're going to be preparing plans to address the cavity problem and the guardrail issue. And once those plans are ready, then we'll have to secure a contractor to do the work.
Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to, in the presentation by East Jefferson, or by Mr. Hebert, in my comments, I failed to mention, I wanted to particularly thank Mr. Stephen Estabanel, the president of the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, for his support, and the entire board, because without their support, I think this meeting regarding that subject would have taken a different tone. And I would like to thank them very much for their support. Also, I noticed a number of the residents from District 1 came in late after the presentation, and I would like to repeat again the major factors of the project, if you would please. None of the streets that were addressed, Warren, 4th, or Alton, are closing. The sale of Warren Street north of Alton to the railroad tracks will not be purchased. There will be no storage of aggregate, sand, rocks, or dirt on the property. There is a proposal by the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection to sell the property between Alton and 4th Street. And if Madam Clerk, if you could you read the amendment, Madam Clerk, that we added also to the, for that particular.
Yes, sir, 1 second.
You need it?
Section 6 will read, Centanni and Warren Streets may not be used by construction vehicles exceeding 5 tons, nor shall such vehicles utilize those streets for access to any portion of the facility once it becomes operational, except in a case of emergency.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I'm glad you came to the meeting. I'm glad I was able to repeat this again. I think this is what all of us really wanted. And again, thanks for your support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein, you have the floor.
Thank you. I want to announce certain improvements to the Bertolino Park through the hard work of the Recreation Department and its employees. We made some improvements to the softball field recently, and we had our first game Wednesday. The mayor was there and the council members, and I was able to throw out the first ball. I want to thank Mr. Maricoli for that. We look forward to making some future improvements, and we're working on those improvements closely with the Recreation Department. We've also recently made some improvements to the electrical system, so it's easier for the supervisors and the employees to turn the lights off and on. And we also made some improvements to the lighting on a baseball field. So we look forward to making some improvements in the upcoming year, hopefully. So we're working closely on that. We're working hard on that, and hope everybody had a good time Wednesday at the baseball game.
Thank you. Just wanted to mention, Councilmember Segura spoke about the KPD armed intruder exercise. There were some other agencies that participated: the City of Gretna Police Department, the City of Kenner Fire Department, the City of Kenner Office of Emergency Management, City of Westwego Police Department, the Governor's Office of Homeland Security, and the Jefferson Parish Office of Emergency Management. So I just wanted to make sure that I included those. Also, the Kenner Discovery School is having an inaugural gala. It's going to be held Saturday, March 14th from 7 to 10 at Cars of Yesteryears, Henry Shane's place. And if you would like to learn more about that, you can, let me see if I can find it here. I know it's on here somewhere. Oh, Discovery hsf.org/gala, or you can call 504-913-7812. Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
Sure. Councilman Klein, I just wanted to express our thanks. You know, the Recreation Department did a great job getting that facility ready at the last minute, but all the work that went into it, I mean, that was one of the biggest monumental changes that I've seen at Bertolino, and I was floored when the one of the referees who coaches all over the state came and said that was the finest softball complex he's been to. I know it has a little ways to go. It's not quite finished, but I'm glad we were able to get it up and playing, and we're getting a good response from that. Everybody just wants to know when you're gonna paint that fence. So, so I know the wood has to cure before that can happen. But we really appreciate you taking the drive and the initiative to make things happen at Bertolino. It's one of our finest facilities, and I hope it continues to thrive.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is persons wishing to address,
No. Unfinished business, we have none.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm lost. Okay, I'm sorry. Item 19 is unfinished business under motions to reconsider or remove from a table position. We have none. And item 20,
Persons wishing to address the council?
yes, sir.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 43 years. I want to add to what Councilman Impastato said in regards to that bridge. But first, I want to thank the people who made those calls on the other end on West Loyola. I was on the bridge that morning when the two gentlemen pulled up, and I talked to them, And they confirmed what you said, that the bridge was structurally sound. But there was some recommendations that they was going to send to the city of Kenner, and they took pictures of those four corners pertaining to the guardrails you just mentioned. So it just goes to show what happens when people get involved and pay attention to what's going on in the citizenry. And so I'll be looking forward to those improvements, those rails, and these issues, these recommendations that they submitted to you all. Secondly, I want to pay a tribute to Hank Polito. Hank Polito was one of the finest human beings I've ever been associated with. He was the founder, one of the founders, and commander of Post 7732, which I'm a member, for nearly a generation. The city of Kenner and the world is going to be a lesser place without Hank Polito. God bless him and his family, and hopefully he'll be in a better place. In closing, I want to commend the Kenner Police Department for handling the situation in my neighborhood. And good job well done. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Al. R.W. Morrell. Not here? Okay, that ends persons wishing to address the council, and motion to adjourn by Councilman Conley, second by Councilmember DeFrances.